What up, y'all? It's the Robot Watcher. Grab your binoculars, back with another video. Today we're gonna jump into something that I highly anticipated all year. We're gonna jump into my wide receiver rankings, 1 through 10, with a couple of honorable mentions at the end. I am on spring break right now, so I'm not at the crib, and we will be doing a quote-unquote marathon. So we giving you 5 videos in a row, Tuesday through Saturday. I couldn't do Monday because of birthday weekend just passed. Shout out to me, hey, 23, throw it up. But Tuesday through Saturday, we're doing a video every single day. We're going to wide receiver rankings, DB rankings, and we'll do 3 breakdowns just so we're not getting too far away from that. But let's go ahead and get into the rankings right now. Now, at wide receiver 10, we got a guy that I recently covered. Really, really good video. I think it's my highest performing video on the channel. But we got Xavier Leggett. Xavier Leggett. 6'1", 220, 23 years old. I don't have his combine measurements up, so that's wrong, but I'm gonna put their measurements up on the screen. I think his best trait is just how freaky athletic he is when it comes to his short area quickness, not short area quickness, but his speed. When it comes to, I think he ran 4.38 at 227 or 220 pounds, something like that, being 6'1". Also, how strong he is. You can see what his muscle mass looks like, how he can burn some guys over top. He can burn you in the yak game. He can just run past you. Also, how physical he is. He uses the physicality to win on routes, things like that. Freaky athleticism, his best trait. Underrated trait, I think his ball skills and catch radius. I mean, he makes some ridiculous outreaching, go up and go grab it catches, and really, really good contested catcher downfield or in short intermediate things when it comes to contested catch. I think that's the most underrated trait about him. And I think his worst skill set, something you're going to have to work at the next level, something that'll kind of hold him back, is his separation. He lacks separation. We talked about it in the video. We're not doing full breakdowns for these guys because there are breakdowns on the channel for most of these guys. So if you want to see the breakdown, go watch the video. It's on the channel. But he does lack separation. He does lack the ability to run routes and get open and get away from guys. But still going to be my 10th ranked wide receiver. He is kind of a upside guy. But let's get into number 9. Number 9, we got a combine faller. Y'all know first eval on the channel was this guy. Y'all know I'm an Oregon fan, and I was high on him, still kind of high on him, but the combine did lose some of his luster, and that's Troy Franklin. His best trait has to be his game speed. He's a burner. He can beat guys whenever you give him an angle. He can just run past you. He can run past you over the top. He can beat you in his routes with his speed and his tempo, things like that. I also think his underrated trait most easily is his route running polish / upside. I see a lot of guys talk about how bad of a route runner he is, or he doesn't have much upside there. I don't see that. The way that he changes pace at his releases, has multiple releases, the way he's able to throttle down in certain routes, things like that, and use his speed to beat guys to the edge. I think if he continues to polish that, he will blow up. He could be a good high-end wide receiver 2, mid to low-end wide receiver 1 easily. Also, his last, or I should say his worst trait, playing through contact. We see he's a slender guy. Really, really slender. He only ran 4.41 at the combine. That's another reason I dropped him. Running does not matter because the GPS is there, but I would have liked him see him run again for a second time and get in the 4.3s because I thought he could have got there easily. Who was another guy? Kid from Arizona I love, Jacob Cowan. He ran 4.41 in his first 40, looked exactly like Troy Franklin. Came back in his second, ran 4.38. So I think Troy Franklin is a 4.3 guy, but that did drop him down on the board a little bit because I thought he was a little faster. And in the drills, he just didn't look as smooth and as natural as you want your receivers to be. So that's why I got him down here at 9. I do see a little bit of the kind of concerns people have, but I'm still high on my guy. I still believe in him and his upside. Another upside guy who I thought was a little bit more polished and a little bit higher floor than at the beginning of the year, but I see he is more of an upside guy, kind of like our boy Xavier Leggett, but just a little bit more higher floor. Let's get into number 8. Wide receiver 8, winner of the combine, Xavier Worthy. You see your boy, fast, 4.21, fastest 40 of all time, and I think if he started a little bit better, he probably could have got 4.20 or 4.1. I ain't gonna lie, 4.19, something like that. I think his start, he opened up his gate a little bit too early, but if his start was a little better, oh boy, he was gonna be blazing. But fastest recorded sprinter ever in the NFL, at the combine at least. So, but I do think his best trait is his ball tracking downfield. He can track the ball over his shoulder, over his head. If you throw it downfield, he's going to be able to get a good track on that ball and beat out DBs just because of his ball tracking. I talked about it when I did his breakdown. He reminds me of the guy that plays for the Seahawks. Dang, I can't remember. Tyler Lockett, because how good they are at tracking deep balls and those moon balls, things like that. Really, I think that's his best trait easily. Of course, his speed is great, but his ball tracking is what separates him from guys like John Ross, who are just straight speed guys. Underrated trait, I think, is his contact balance. He looks like a very slender guy, but whenever he gets the ball in his hand, he is such a good yak threat because he's able to break arm tackles. He's able to bump off of guys. I talked about Trey Benson being like a pinball runner. He's somewhat of a pinball guy. You hit him and he's able to bounce off of you. Not consistently every play, but a good enough amount to where he is a yak threat, especially with that speed. So you breaking tackles and bouncing off of guys with that type of speed and acceleration, nightmare. That's why he's my receiver 8. So, but the worst thing about him, talked about this last time, his drops. He has really bad drops, really drops to make you scratch your head. Maybe not a whole bunch of drops. He doesn't have a super high drop rate, but the drops that he does have is kind of Ted Ginn-esque. It's like, man, what is going on with you? Do you got hands? But still my wide receiver 8. Great showing at the combine. Could be a first rounder. But let's get into number 7. Number 7. Recently just did a breakdown on this guy 2 weeks ago, so y'all go watch it. Stop playing with me. Go watch, like, subscribe, do all that YouTube stuff. Anyways, Keon Coleman. Big guy. I know he had a slow 40, ran 4.6, but that's not what he's here to do. He plays much faster than that, but we'll talk about it anyway. His best trait, ball skills when it comes to his catch radius, when it comes to muscling through guys, catching through traffic, circus catches. He's your jump ball, go alpha X guy. You see the picture that we got on the slide. So easily his ball skills is his best trait. Alpha wide receiver, alpha X wide receiver to the old school extent. Easily to the T. Underrated trait, I will say, since we talked about him running a 4.6, I think his short area quickness / gain speed is his most underrated trait. When you look at his 10-yard split, it was really good. I can't remember exactly what it was. I think it was 1.65 or less, something like that. But really good 10-yard split. Was towards the highest in the class, and also just his short area movements whenever you're watching his game film. He plays much faster than that 4.65, 4.62 40 or whatever it was said. We seen it in the what's the drill, the gauntlet drill. Whenever you run across a straight line, we seen he was hitting 20 miles per hour. So I think he has underrated game speed and especially that short area quickness, which matters because that's how you win early, and then you can stack guys over top. So that's why he's such a deep threat with that slower 40 speed. Worst trait, separation. Just like Xavier Leggett, both these guys need a little more polish in their route running ability to be able to separate underneath and get away from guys. But both of these guys also have amazing ball skills where they can get a contested catch or some circus catch and make you look crazy regardless if you're in it there or not to make a play. So still a first-round talent, fringe first-round talent to me, still top 10 receiver to me. I was never super high on him. I was never wide receiver 3-4 on him, but I was higher than I thought I was if you watch that breakdown. I talked about it. So shout out Keon Coleman, future Panther maybe. Future Panther maybe, I don't know. Let's get into wide receiver 6. Wide receiver 6, another guy that I have kind of rose up the ranks on this guy. I thought I was going to be lower than I was, but let's talk about it. Brian Thomas Jr. ran 4.34 or 4.35, something crazy at the time, or maybe it was 4.38. 4.3s at 6'1", 6'2", 6'2", I want to say. 200 and something pounds, 205, 210 pounds. You'll see it on the screen. Crazy runner. Crazy speed for a guy that size with that linky arms, things like that. Pause. But best trait, easily his explosiveness downfield. He's going to be able to get past guys, run past guys. He's like a DK Metcalf. Send him on the go, send him on the post. That's going to be his route tree for most of his career, or at least at the beginning of his career. Really explosive downfield. That's easily his best trait. If you need a downfield threat, some downfield explosiveness, get this guy easily. Underrated trait, I think it's his yak ability. I talk about it in his breakdown, how he's able to make guys miss with these subtle moves or in a phone booth, things like that. People have talked about Jaden Daniels. One of his knocks is most of his production came from 2 first-round receivers, and Brian Thomas Jr. and Malik Nabers, and they were mostly running posts, drags, curls, and goes. To get a lot of production off curls and drags, you gotta have some yak ability. So I think that's his most underrated trait. Worst trait, easily, I think it's his route running ability or his route running tree. I think it needs to be expanded. I just talked about where the production came from. I think he runs with his chest up. I think he doesn't have enough releases at the line. He dips his shoulder a lot trying to get around guys, which Steve Smith told y'all, it slows you down like I did originally. So LSU fans who was killing me in the comments, I need my apologies in this one. But I think he can improve at his route running ability, releases, things like that, hiding his chest, using his hands more within the route, swiping guys away, things like that. But still a really explosive and amazing athlete, easily could slide into that DK Metcalf-esque role and be a baller year one. So that's wide receiver 6. Let's get into the top 5, which is kind of surprising. Number 5, Adonai A.D. Mitchell. Texas very young. 2 Texas receivers on here, which is crazy. Also 2 LSU receivers on here. So them boys is putting them out. But we talked about it, man. Or everybody talked about it. 4.3, low 4.3s. I want to say it was like 4.34 speed at 6'2" or whatever he is. Insane speed that you didn't notice. I will bring up, he made a comment in his at the combine where he was talking about how he runs his routes, or maybe it wasn't at the combine, I heard it before. Okay, he said he does not run his routes at full speeds. That's why he's able to keep the pace that he keeps, why it looks like he's jogging almost, why it looks like he's slower than he is, because he doesn't run his routes at full speed. He keeps it all at the same pace, and he's still able to break guys open. So imagine, that's why you don't see that 4.3 speed on his tape. But man, best trait easily, his fluid route running ability. I don't think he has the most violent breaks or things like that, but the fact is he's able to keep the pace where he's going in and out of breaks, stutter, stepping, things like that, and keep that same pace, throws guys off a million miles a minute. He also understands leverage, things like that. He's just a fluid mover for his size, as you can see with his 40 and things like that. Underrated thing, like I said, his speed and explosiveness. I think he showed his explosiveness in that 4.3 speed-esque kind of thing in those short area routes in like the red zone, or when he ever needed to make a quick cut, he just burst out of it. And I was like, dang, he don't look that fast when he's just striding. When he burst out of it, you see that explosiveness. So that's easily his underrated trait that helps him win underneath and in the red zone especially. Also, his worst trait, consistent effort. He has to give effort. I tweeted about it all the time during, what was it, the semi-championship, whatever it is, the Final Four in the college football playoffs, where he's just walking off the line. I talked about when he knows he's not getting the ball, he's going to walk off the line, things like that, and not run a full route. I want to see better effort at the next level, and that's kind of what dropped him here to wide receiver 5, also with a little bit limited yak ability, even though he wasn't given that many opportunities. But let's get into wide receiver 4 since we talked about why he dropped. And our boy, let's get into it, man. The proper lad. I don't know if I was speaking high enough in the video that I made about him in his breakdown, but most of the stuff that I had on there was correct. There were some things that were incorrect. I questioned, does he have enough speed, downfield, long speed, to play on the outside? I think he does, man. We seen it 4.3. Even if he didn't run a 4.3, running 4.4, low 4.4s. I thought he was going to be mid 4.4s. Running low 4.4s, that sells. That sells. He's an outside receiver. He can also play inside. I will say, I'll save it to the end. You see the slide. Underrated abilities, his yak ability easily. The way he's able to bounce off guys, beat tackling angles, break through arm tackles. He's basically like, they've used him and Brock Bowers in some of the same way when it comes to his yak ability. They used him on in and around jet sweeps, things like that. And on slants, he was able to just make plays and get extra yards through contact that you wouldn't expect from a kind of route running, palm skinny receiver like him. But nah. But really, really good yak ability. So you pair up the best route runner in the class easily, which I don't know if I said that's his best trait. Easily his best trait. You seen it at the Senior Bowl. You seen it, the best route runner and separator in this class. Just simply a technician. A technician. You pair that up with his yak ability. And now you pair it with what we know to be 4.3 speed. He already had the highest floor in this class outside of Marvin Harrison Jr. Now you pair those things up, his ceiling just grew exponentially for me. His worst trait, which we'll get into before we wrap this up for him, playing through contact. Whenever you press him and you're able to keep in his hip pocket, put your hands on him, he does struggle to separate that way. If you kind of fight him through the catch point, things like that, he's not going to make a whole bunch of contested catches. He can hold on to the ball a little bit through tougher catches, but if you're able to play through his hands, things like that, he does struggle with that. But if he can clean that up, I seen the comp when it came to his measurables to Garrett Wilson. I do think Garrett Wilson is a little more twitchy and a little more explosive, but man, now that I know his actual speed, he actually might be Garrett Wilson. I seen somebody, TFG, shout out to this franchise guy, he said he was like a Deontay Johnson. He's much faster than Deontay Johnson is, and he has better yak ability. It's only one guy that sounds like that, and it's Garrett Wilson. He could be one of the top 2 receivers in this class when it's all said and done. Could be, if he, continues to improve in things like playing through contact. It's not many more, what should I say? weaknesses after that. But this is not a Lad McConkey video. You have the eval on my page. Go watch it. Let's get into the top 3 wide receivers right now. All right, let's get into it. Your boy Rome Odunze. Best trait, easily his route running and smoothness. Kind of reminds me of AD Mitchell, what I thought of him at least. I didn't think he was this blazing fast guy, but he was really, really fluid and really smooth as a route runner. That's who Odunze is. I think he only ran 4.47, something like that, which is still fast enough. But he's not a blazing speed guy, but he's such a fluid route runner, shiftiness in his routes, things like that. Easily his best trait. I think an underrated trait is his yak ability. I don't think he got to display it as much, or maybe he did, but it's not talked about as much around draft circles. But I do think he has some yak ability at the next level to, you know, get some yards at the catch, make some more explosive plays that you didn't expect. Also, I think he had a punt return for a touchdown also. But anyways, his worst trait is, I think, his explosiveness and long speed. It should say long speed. I do think he's fast enough to play on the outside, things like that. But I don't know if he's a simple burner where he can just run by you, or if he's this explosive athlete that just is hard to kind of contain him. He's not that type of guy, which is fine. But really, really high floor, really, really good player. Hard to see the top 4 guys that I have bust. It's hard to see that, honestly. But let's get into number 2. Really, I should have said let's get into 1B, because I think these guys are that close. But I'm going to have it listed as 2 for now. Malik Nabers. I love this guy, man. I love this dude, man. I don't have a video on him or the top 3 guys in general, so I'm going to maybe be a little bit long-winded. We'll see how I feel. Best trait is the athleticism and explosiveness. I talked about it with Rome Odunze, how he's fast, but he's not super explosive. Nah, not this guy. You give him the ball, he can beat 4 guys to one angle. He can loop it around the other side of the field. He can get quick burst, quick start, stop. He can beat guys that's playing 20 yards off. Man, if Brian Thomas ran 4.3, I really wanted to see what he ran. He might have ran just as fast, or maybe even 4.2s, high 4.2s. He's explosive as an athlete. He can jump out of the gym, things like that. Just really explosive. He's going to be really hard to contain. Imagine like a Jalen Waddle explosiveness, Tyreek Hill explosiveness, not speed, but explosiveness, where it's just, he's such an athlete, it's hard to contain him, whether he's going side to side, straight, short area, things like that. Just very explosive. Underrated trait, I think, is his route running ability. I don't think he's some smooth super technician, but because how explosive he is, it's hard to contain him and keep up with those little slight head fakes, shoulder fakes, cuts, things like that. Really makes him a really good route runner, because he's able to use that explosibility, especially if he's able to improve on like being smoothness and a technician. Really, really good ability. Really, really good route running ability. Worst trait, I think, it's his route tree. Once again, they didn't run a lot of advanced route trees. It was drags, curls, goes and posts, and maybe some digs in there. So I think I want to see him with a more advanced route tree at the next level and see if he can play a little bit more on the outside. But like I said, the top 4 guys, is really hard to see them busting. Like, it really is. But let's get into wide receiver 1. Let's talk about it. The boy, Marvin Harrison Jr. Best trait, he's his dad, but just a better athlete, more explosive of an athlete, better speed, things like that. He's just his dad with better speed, basically, and better ball skills. I mean, really, really, really good player. So good that for his underrated, I don't have anything, because he's just been covered the most. Everybody knows what it is. Like, we know who he is. He's easily the best wide receiver in this draft. He could have gone number 1 if you really wanted him to. Maybe the best player in the draft, I don't know. Really, really good wide receiver, though. Worst trait, I guess you could say, is his yak ability. I think he can improve and show a little bit more nuance and breaking tackles, beating angles, things like that. But still going to be a decent yak threat in the next level, too. He's just a complete player. Almost a complete prospect. He's great. One of the best receiver prospects to ever come out. Thank God we got him, I guess. I don't know what else to say. We know who he is. He's been covered all year. So let's get into some honorable mentions right quick. I want to talk about, like I said, Jacob Cowing, a really, really good guy. He would have been in my top 10 if he was 5'11", like he was listed. He's 5'8", almost 5'7", so it is very much smaller than what I thought he was going to be. Jalen Polk is another guy I like. He kind of falls into that alpha jump ball, go get it receivers, but I did put Leggett above him because Leggett has much more explosiveness and athleticism in him. That may give him the edge, even though Polk is a little bit more polished as a route runner, things like that. Javon Baker. Love Javon Baker. Just really, really smooth route runner. Really good ball skills. He's able to track the ball. He's able to jump and go get it over guys. He does need to separate a little bit better, but really good player. I can see him being a steal in whatever round he goes in, unless it's like high seconds. But I can see him being a steal if he goes in the third or lower. Really good player. Also, Malik Washington, I like him a lot. I like his yak ability a lot. Trying to think if it's Jermaine Burton, really smooth route runner, really fast guy also. Could be really good at the next level. It's a lot of receivers in this class. It's a lot. I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody. They're not all coming to my head. Really good class. This is the best year they need a receiver, whether you got a first or whether you don't. So, appreciate y'all for tuning in. Remember, videos every day until Saturday. Probably going to do a DB rankings tomorrow, and then we're going to hop into some film evaluations, back to the bread and butter. But it's been a real ball watcher. Put your binoculars up. I'm out.